Hello, everybody. It's that time of the week again for your favorite podcast. This is Location Weekly. It's episode number 551. We're recording live on January the 11th. And Aubriana, how are you doing?
I'm good. I have emerged from holiday season, so I'm like digging out, starting to get back into the rhythm of things. Both of my kids are back in school as of today, which is very exciting. They were home for like over a month. So we are very happy to be able to maybe have some sort of balance back in the house. And we have cleared, Christmas Eve, Christmas, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, all the festivities. Then I had what we celebrate Three Kings Day, and then my oldest birthday. And so now I'm like, I'm ready to take the
Well,
Christmas
you're
stuff.
not quite done yet because you have a husband's birthday coming up.
I do, but like there's less of a, I don't know. I have a little bit of a buffer, and there's less of like all the extra stuff you got to do. With kids, you got to make it special, and it's
Yeah.
exhausting, and I
Yeah.
can't keep up all these holidays and things. So yes, I'm feeling like I can breathe. It's nice. So yeah. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Similar, it's work's been busy lately. My kids, the younger one, he's still online. All the schools have gone online here, but they go back in person next Monday on the 17th, so that'll be good. My daughter's already back at university in residence, but online. So she decided she needed to still be away from home, but do it online in her own place. So I'm
I
like,
get that.
okay, well, you're paying for it anyway, so you might as well be
Yeah.
there. So yeah, so that's going okay, and yeah, it's like I feel like we're back in the full flow of business and work, and I think the only thing that's kind of a little bit disappointing is I was planning to be at NRF for the retail conference in New York. Chose not to go just because cases are sort of all over the place, and travel's not sort of highly recommended these days. So kind of left that, and I understand the numbers were quite low in terms of attendance this year overall. A lot of vendors pulled out. Same for CES and so on. So
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was crazy. Everybody was going. We were actually attending this year, and then last minute, everybody slammed on the brakes, just
yeah.
Vegas is hard enough, like healthy. I mean, can you imagine going, being sick?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
So, all right, well, let's jump into our show for this week. Four stories as usual. One to kick it off, right in sort of the heart of our industry. So I'll let Brianna start us.
Yeah. So this is a new partnership that's happening now between Catalina and PlaceIQ. And I like this. This makes complete sense to me. You've got Catalina that's going to use PlaceIQ's Fire Hose Visits product. So it'll enhance their measurement and audience creation and analytics offerings. So this will include metrics like visitation metrics across the country, place metrics, open hours, multi-use properties, things of that nature. And PlaceIQ is also going to be extending their POI database, point of interest database, to include over 30,000 custom locations to help support some of Catalina's growing out-of-home business and place-based media services that they offer. And, most of us know Catalina for their deterministic shopper transaction data, shopper panel data. So this is a big one probably for CPG, right? And just enable those advertisers to reach those more precise audiences. So looking to optimize those offline foot traffic, who's visited what stores, across all these different channels, and show that ROI on brand campaign performance. So I like this partnership. I think it makes a lot of sense. It makes me think about how, very, very specific to how we are running a lot of our campaigns at Samsung Ads, and makes me think about like the future. So it's good to see that there's still exciting things besides, people shutting down or getting eaten up in the location business. So excited for, Duncan and his team partnering with Catalina. I think this is a big deal for them. But maybe I'll have an update. I'll reach out and check in with him and hear what he has to say about it. But overall, I think this is a positive offering, just further enhancing what Catalina is doing for the brands that they work with.
Yeah, no, I think it's a strong partnership, two well-established players in the industry. I was talking to a partner of ours yesterday based in Mexico, and, they work with a lot of CPGs and a lot of, grocery retailers and folks like that. And, we were talking about sort of the power of location data and looking at visits and whatnot. But I think when you can blend the traffic metrics, the visit metrics together with shopper information, whether that's transactions or in terms of volume or actual dollar amounts or things like that, and start to look at conversion rates and things that give you real insights into what's going on, not just how many people were there, but how many transactions were there against how many people were there, and what was the average transaction size, and all those kinds of things become incredibly valuable to an industry in terms of better informing where to focus ad targeting. And I think the custom location piece, around the 30,000 locations you mentioned, I think that's interesting too, if it's focused around the at-home space, because we've talked a lot about the need for more measurement there, and a lot of out-of-home companies have announced partnerships and solutions. So I think that that sort of just falls into the sort of the mix and the trend of where things are going these days. So I like it.
Yep.
All right, we're going to jump over to Japan now. So a Kuala Lumpur-based company called Matching Advisor Press, which is essentially a dating agency, has come up with a new way to market and promote their services. They've released a vending machine. Yes, a vending machine. And this is happening in Tokyo in the Kamata neighborhood. So if you're in Kamata, or you can get to Kamata, there's a vending machine out there for you if you're in the dating world at the moment. And so you go up to this vending machine, and it's got cans in it, like a soda vending machine does. Pink colored cans represent women. Beige colored cans represent men. The cans include the prospect's age on them. Each can costs 9,000 yen, which is roughly about $78, and contains a voucher for an interview with an advisor from the dating agency. And then the agency can also arrange a 3-hour dinner date for potential matches for you. So it's kind of an interesting way to promote their matchmaking, services. I don't know. I mean, I guess if you're in the business of this, and you're in the market for this, and you're going to use an agency, and you're going to pay the fee anyways, this might be a different way to kind of sort of get some exposure to that, or for them to kind of build a little bit more brand awareness. I'm a bit skeptical that it's going to drive big adoption for them, but I think it's niche, and it's different, it's fun. And if they can get enough press around it, it may drive some interest for them. And then on top of that, they also, so obviously they cover their service fee, and they can arrange this dinner date. And if it turns into the couple ends up getting married, they also then charge a success fee for that, which is part of their normal offering as well. So that's kind of interesting. So what are your thoughts on this?
Oh, I think this is funny. Like, I think that from an attention grabbing, or like you said, brand awareness, it's very like quirky, and it's entertaining. But the idea of placing myself on a can inside of a vending machine, to be bought for, like, what did you say, $75 or whatever,
Yeah.
is a little, I don't know. It's a little awkward. I don't know that I would really want to have my information or anything there. And I think that it's like really funny that they charge a success fee if you get married. I mean, That's also funny. But I have to give it to him for, being creative and thinking about, how can they advertise this in a new way? I don't know, there might have been other options in terms of like location or matching people based on location or based on, any other types of data, like movement data or, interests and behaviors, things like that.
Yeah.
But like I said, it's creative and we're here talking about it. So
Yeah, and I think, yeah, I mean, I think what you just described in terms of the data side, there's lots of apps obviously out there that do that and
yeah.
use, location data and things like that. I think, what's interesting to me about this is it's the exact opposite, right? This is a complete analog, versus digital, sort of play, right? It's tied to a specific neighborhood, so the location is physical in that sense, and there's nothing digital about it. It's other than it's a vending machine that you're putting money into and you're getting something out of. But there's no information, there's no sort of data that's being massaged or manipulated here. So it's yeah, it's interesting, and I think probably we'll get some press and some attention and maybe some. I'm interested to see if down the road there's a follow-up story to say like it worked and 12 couples got married because of this vending machine. That'll be interesting.
I
So
know, right? How did you meet? Well, vending machine.
yeah.
Makes for a good story. All right, let's go over to Seattle, and they are opening an NFT museum that will be launching this weekend. So if you are in Seattle, you can actually go to seattlenftmuseum.com and purchase tickets. But this is pretty interesting. They'll have art on exhibit there, and obviously, if you have been living under a rock, NFTs or non-fungible tokens. It's digital art. It's going to be living on the blockchain and it will be displayed within this museum. So it's on loan from artists all around the world, creators, galleries, collectors. And, they're going to be displayed on these high resolution, really large screens. And, they're just trying to capture, I guess, the imagination, provide entertainment for first time viewers. So this digital asset is used to authenticate these works of art and ownership, or really just about anything. So the applications for any type of digital art are really, the possibilities are endless. We've seen sports getting into this. We've seen music getting into this. I think that this is just the very beginning. We're just scratching the surface here, but it it's pretty cool. Like I haven't really had a high interest in things like cryptocurrencies and that as much as I am interested in NFTs. So this is something that I'm like, I actually do want to buy a piece of, art. I think that would be really fun. So it obviously will make it easy to acquire, to store, sell, and obviously, again, validate that authenticity. So I was thinking of, our friend Mark Michael over at Dev Hub, CEO over there, and he's always like creating different things, and he's always putting together those like life creations, and so maybe we could get some NFTs of his life creations, and he can go take them over to the NFT museum since he's there locally.
Yes.
What do you
Yeah,
think?
yeah. I think Mark Michael's the perfect guy to be plugged into this thing. So
Yeah.
if you're listening, Mark, go get your art into this museum. But yeah, what I like about this is obviously it's a hot topic right now. Everybody's doing something. All the brands we've talked about are sort of figuring out their NFT strategy right now, and how they generate revenue from it. But I think from a general consumer public point of view, I like this story because it's creating a space where people can go and learn and interface and connect with NFTs and understand what they are, understand that it's a new form of art, in how they're positioning it here, anyways. And I think I see sort of more mainstream galleries starting to get on board with these types of digital exhibits and things like that as well, because I think there's there's such a uniqueness to, the article, whatever it is, right? If it's like a special shoe that, print or something, or whatever, and people, because it's not physical, it's a lot easier to sort of transport, in that sense, right? You don't have to move the item from, somebody's house in some place to, a museum. You can digitally display it, and it can be on loan from anywhere. So I think that, in a pandemic, world that we all live in right now, I think this is the ideal way to sort of get people exposed to the world of NFTs, and having a sort of a place that's curating and bringing them all together makes sense to me. So I'm quite interested in what they're doing there, and I see many more of these types of NFT museums, or like I said, mainstream galleries and museums getting into this type of space. So
Yeah. Well, what's kind of interesting is, Samsung has, well, a lot of different televisions, but they have one specifically called the Frame that is made to display art. And then at CES, they just made this announcement about how they'll have this new NFT specific, like TV feature that's going to be rolling out this year. So, there's lots of people are getting into this, and there's different ways to be a part of it. So I have a feeling we'll be talking a lot more about this area of growth over the year.
cool. All right. So our final story now, another longtime LBMA member here Technologies, has launched at CES. They made an announcement around their new indoor mapping as a service solution, and a partnership with SBB AG. So basically, they've launched this sort of one-stop shopping, system for indoor mapping. Businesses, let's say, who have, stores or physical footprints, you can submit to here sort of PDFs or CAD drawings, or whatever format you've got in terms of your physical layout, and then here produces sort of an indoor map based on that. It's all provisioned through a self-service portal and content management tool. And then the maps can be directly tied into the here SDK for integration with other here solutions, like their routing and their wayfinding solutions and other things. So I think there's for me, what I like about this is that obviously there's lots of indoor mapping and indoor positioning solutions on the market, but I like that they're kind of making it very, very easy, very self-service. Upload your files. They can help you with updating them over time after that initial setup and so on. So I think that's really interesting. And then as part of the announcement, they talked about a pilot project with SBB, which is a Swiss railway operator, and in Zurich at the central train station, where they worked with here on a proof of concept using this platform. And so they were able to deploy augmented reality-based navigation to help users figure out their path and their way around the train station, and how to get to their connections and things like that. And I think that's a very practical application, because I've traveled throughout Europe on trains before, and it's not like going to your regular subway station. You're there, you don't really know, you don't speak the language, whatever, you don't know where you are, you don't know how to get from one platform to the other platform, or so on. And so I think digital tools that can help you wayfind and navigate based on indoor maps become quite powerful there. And so they were able to kind of use that. And so I think there's a lot of power in a system like this and a solution like this. And when you can tie it to those types of wayfinding solutions and those types of applications, it becomes incredibly practical and useful for the end consumer as well.
Yeah, I love this application. I think it's great. Being new-ish in New York, and trying to like navigate coming from like one train line into Grand Central and switching and all of that. There's like, I use 3 different apps, like one for a ticket, one for a schedule, one for like maps, and then each train line has its own app. So it's super confusing, and I love the idea that this is an SDK that can be baked into other applications. So I think that that would be really great, you know, to be able to, especially in a place like Grand Central, where even if you speak the language, there's a lot of like different levels and places to go, and it can be super confusing. And when you're trying to, you know, move and go quickly, it's definitely something that could be helpful. I also think this would be very beneficial when you think about like Atlanta airport specifically, you know, that can be overwhelming for people who don't go through there a lot. And then you have like other applications like large malls and shopping centers and things of that nature. But specifically when you're traveling and like you mentioned, don't speak the language, I think this is a great, you know, add-on service. And you know, we've heard from here for so many years, and they just keep iterating and producing, you know, interesting wayfinding technology. So I like to
Yeah,
hear.
and I think like just the last comment, like I think for me is despite the fact that the pandemic really sort of killed CES and NRF as we were talking about at the top of the show. I mean, like what there was 50,000 people, I think, at most at CES this year, from what I understand. And so many vendors pulled out. Like the reality is a lot of these companies still made announcements, had them lined up and still, made announcements like this. And you talked about Samsung's announcements and so on. So I think that, despite the fact that the physical show didn't happen in the way that we normally would like to see it and participate in it, and the speakers and so on and so forth. The reality is these companies are moving forward. They are progressing. They are iterating on their roadmaps and bringing new things to market. And I think we'll see a lot more of that this year. And whether or not it's announced in person or it's announced virtually, but I think this offering from here is solid. So I expect that they're going to do well.
Yep. Good
So
stuff.
That's our show for this week. You've been listening to episode number 551 of Location Weekly. We thank you as always for your time. Please reach out if you have story ideas or questions or feedback for us. We would love to have that. And we'll see you next week for another show. Have a great week, everybody. Bye.